obviously, we know what's going on.
We know everything.
I don't know what to say. If you couldn't tell, we are not very professional.
3, 2, 1.
Hey everyone, my name is Jad Yakan and I'm your host for That Was Crazy. I'm from Houston, Texas, and I'm a student from Baylor University, and I'm currently living in New York where I'm on an internship program for film and digital media through iSTANDtv. In this episode, we're featuring Uthman, who is one of my roommates here in New York City, and the experiences we both had since arriving at the beginning of the year. This is the first episode of many, and I really hope you enjoy it. Peace! So we have this program going on. We're here in Baylor, here in New York for Baylor. Mm-hmm. We're all here again on internships. And
Sick Bears.
Yeah, Sick 'em. Mm-hmm. We all have different stories going on, everything. And I just want to talk to you a little bit about your experience, like what you're coming here for. And some of the things you've been doing. So just like your first week, I would say, like, let's focus on, because the first week is kind of what's setting the tone. Because we come here, it's a whole different city and everything. And then you start feeling it out a little bit. And you're like, okay, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm like in anything like that. So, I mean, I don't know. Were there any things that happened during that first week? I mean, obviously we got into rooming with each other. Right. And that we kind of hit it off from there. And we had a good setup. But I mean, were there any like little experiences you had with coming into work? I mean, you had an internship, right? When you first came here.
So. I had an internship coming in. It was definitely cool. It was really nerve-wracking. It was the first time. I'm from Texas, Houston. Lived with my parents like within like 3 hours. The longest is to Waco to drive back. So I've always been driving distance from them. So like coming out here on my own, not knowing a single person. Like I hadn't even texted you before we moved in together here. Like, we didn't know. When you came up, I was like, is this guy cool? Is he not? Like, we kind of like each other, luckily, a little bit.
Definitely.
But no, it was a really strange first week, especially being in that quarantine, that 4-day quarantine because of New York and stuff like that. That was pretty, like, Yeah. But I didn't really start my internship too much. I just had, like, talks with my boss and stuff. But it was really cool, like, coming in and realizing, like, hey, I'm on my own now. Yeah. I got this, like, cool little view out here, and like, the city was, like, really intimidating at first. But, like, being in it for a while now, it's been really fun.
Well, the thing I think about it the most is whenever I'm thinking about what we're doing here and we're going through all these challenges, new city, new lifestyle, everything, is that there are so many people who will never get this experience in the first place. Yeah. But the biggest thing that comes with that is like, okay, I'm putting myself outside my comfort zone, which is really hard for a lot of people to do, because when you're taking that extra step to like go out and do something, you're always like, there's always that sense of like, what if I fail? What if something bad happens? What if I don't go through with what I want to do? Like all these what ifs. So I just think that every time we speak about like what challenges we're overcoming and everything, it's just people looking from the outside in, it almost feels like they should envy us in a way, but I don't know, it just feels like if you can come and live in New York City, my mindset is like, why wouldn't you? But also, if you can live here and thrive here, you can make it anywhere. Is kind of what I get from it. But
the city isn't nice to most strangers at all. So, like, being able to make it here is definitely, like, a staple for yourself if you do. It's like a challenge. It's like an overcoming. And you're like, hey, I finally did it. Like, I'm here. And I can do it. I can do it anywhere else. Probably wouldn't want to do it in LA just because LA is LA. But, New York, still pretty tough, too.
Well, some people differ, because LA, they have Hollywood, everything. I mean, we're internships. Our internships deal with film and digital media, and that's kind of our area of expertise. So New York, LA is kind of like the two big cities, I would say, when people are looking for jobs in that industry. Right. But a lot of people I've noticed, like on our program, they would choose New York over LA. And I wonder if it's just because we have a program that comes to New York, or it's just because LA has this kind of vibe that goes there.
Yeah, I think about it a lot. I've been to both places now. This is my first time in New York, but I've been to LA before. And I think a lot of what LA brings with it, there's like a little toxicity around with the people, a lot of that clout chasing and that like no one will hang out with you unless you have numbers on your social media or stuff like that. And that's how a lot of our generation works nowadays. So it's just being around that crowd. You see that less in New York where everyone just doesn't care where you come from, who you are, what you come from. It's just like you are the image you present yourself to be in those first 10 minutes of talking, whereas in LA I feel like there's more people stalking your social media, seeing like what you have, what are you and what you aren't, instead of just meeting the person inside, which I feel like you wouldn't think New York would be like that, but it is. They do care more on the East Coast about like inside than I feel like on the West Coast. So it's superficial.
It's funny you mentioned that because I did have a friend who he went to LA because something on his social media blew up and like he became friends with all these social media influencers and they have like this kind of like in-group thing, and like, you know, he's kind of one of my buddies. I mean, we weren't like tight or anything super close, but like he was one of my buddies or whatever. But now it's like I probably couldn't even get him like hit him up or something to, you know, like, hey, how you doing, like let's hang out sometimes, because he has that social status, you know. So these people are like, it almost feels like they're kind of above you or in a way. But I mean, I've never lived in LA, but I do think that it is an opportunity I would like to experience at some point.
Right.
But I mean, everything that's going on with here with us is just, I mean, we have so much opportunity coming from our internships and our jobs. Like, I just think that it's important for us in these next few months to feel it out, like what we're doing, like if we like the job that's going with us. Just every little step along the way, and just kind of process that and then think about where you want to go from there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, growing up it's fun, and it's nice to have all that freedom and be able to be like, hey, we're here, we're doing this, and now we're going to get to pay taxes. And like, dude, in like 6 months, I might have life insurance. Like what? Like I will be paid. Someone's going to decide a price of like, when you die, you're worth this much and this is what your family gets. Right. Like, that's just terrifying. It's
adulting. Like we were talking about this the other night. It's like, oh, adulting is fun, but it's like,
it's not though. At the same time, like, I don't want to pay taxes. I don't want a W-4. What a 401k. Yeah. Like I don't need that.
Well, I always feel like growing up, it's been my mission to like stay a child at heart.
Yeah.
Because I always like having that vision and just like feeling, you know,
childhood stuff, cool.
We binge watch Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's literally like,
it's lit.
It brings us home. Like, it reminds us of our childhood. But I think one thing I learned about recently was about how it was a poem I read back in school at Baylor. I can't remember the name of the poem, but the basic premise of it was that how kids see the world and adults see the world are completely different. And it's almost like there's a filter when you grow up in a way, to where like if you're a kid, like you see things in a different way, to where it's just more vibrant, more non-influenced, and you just have this, you really don't care about like anything else other than like what's going on in your head right now. And that's why I think kids are so easily influenced by just outside sources and things coming in. And then you get into social media and it's just like, what is happening, you know, like people, all these trends that go on and everything, that it just.
And it's crazy because our generation is kind of the first to deal with that. Like our parents didn't have Instagram, they didn't have Snapchat, didn't have like unlimited access to the internet, which honestly no like 10-year-old should. So there's a lot on there, man. And so like I feel like it was a challenge for our parents to raise us in that sense of like, oh, like what is this? They don't understand what it is, so we just kind of got it unfiltered and like saw it and grew up in a completely different way with all this stuff and knowledge at our fingertips, which is awesome. But at the same time, there's a lot of toxicity out there that we weren't sheltered from, I think, which is kind of crazy to think of.
Right.
Which they're getting better at now. They're trying to, at least.
Yeah.
Still have TikTok and stuff.
Well, the thing it's crazy because the biggest problem I have with social media influencers or just things that become popular online are these people who are brought up for their toxic personalities or encounters. And you see
like what's
videos.
That little Asian girl who like makes fun of people, you know what I'm talking about?
Lil Tay.
Like she's rich because she's rich. And that's the thing. It's like
why? Like her whole childhood and life has been screwed up because of
Catch Me Outside Girl, stuff like that.
Yeah, and I just think the fact that they are the ones being brought up is they shouldn't be relevant as opposed to the people who are doing things, working hard, to make a better difference in the world.
Yeah.
Whether it's just by doing their everyday job or actually being one of those people who are very influential in the world and social media. Because when you start having all these people who come up in social media who are the toxic personalities, are doing things that are just like really just not typical and just not something you would say as like, okay, this is something I'd want my child to watch or something like that.
We need more Oprahs in the world, less little Tays.
When you have a bunch of little Tays running around, the world just, I feel like it starts taking everyone down a path where it's just like, okay, it's cool to be like that. But
that's what happens when these kids get raised on their phones. You know what I mean? Like they didn't know the right from wrong. They're just seeing all this stuff on the internet and they find like this one thing funny, and since they weren't taught any better of like, hey, don't like this girl's page, don't whatever, they bring up some toxic person and they become toxic themselves through it. So that's why you do have to, like, I feel like as an adult, becoming an adult, when I do have a kid eventually, like I might be not like strict per se, but I'll like, know how to deal with that now, and have him watch like The Last Airbender instead of some bad thing on YouTube or whatever. I also thought of it was like an idea. It's like growing up, like I think we had the best cartoons, we had the best shows by far, like no doubt about it.
Definitely.
Imagine making like a Netflix like 20 years later down the road where you collect all of the cool like TV shows like Teen Titans, Last Airbender, other stuff, and then like you rent that and then you buy that so you can raise your kids on the proper cartoons and stuff.
Just like your generational cartoon.
Heck yeah, dude. Yeah, for sure.
I could definitely see that. I mean, I'm sure they will do something like that because I mean, have you like seen some of the? I mean, we're not gonna say they're bad, like the cartoons. And
some of them are bad. They remade Teen Titans. Did you see the Bubble characters? It was awful, and it just wasn't. It's so bad compared to like there was an actual story arc and there was like meaning behind each episode and stuff, and now it's just like. It's because like with TikTok and all these things, kids are losing their ability to like focus on something for longer than 5 minutes. So they just need like big bright things instead of just like actual story and actual whatnot, character development, if you will.
Yeah. Well, I get that. It's interesting that we are talking about that because just how our upbringing with shows and different influences from media and different aspects of our lives, just YouTube, anything, like all the influential people who were within our lives growing up. I think that's had a really big effect on the outcome of how we carry ourselves today. Like if you go into a job now, you're more focused on, okay, how can I do this as best as I can, as opposed to being someone who can't, like you said, you can't focus on something for more than 5 minutes or something like that.
Right.
And I think that really is a big problem because if you have a generation of people who can't focus, then how is anything going to get done?
Yeah, a lot of Adderall. That might be the sad truth. That might be the sad truth. That's another thing too, is people just depend on that stuff nowadays as well. So it's crazy.
Yeah, because I mean, it's not something. I mean, looking at it from a standpoint of like, okay, if you have to rely on something to make you focus better, or like, well, obviously some people like they're prescribed stuff like that, and they take medications because they have certain problems. But I think getting as close as you can to being pure and just going based off of pure personality and like hard work, like I think that's what should be sought after, regardless of if you have like a prescription or medication.
Right. You're losing a little bit of that nowadays too. You are. But I mean, there's a lot of it in the world too. There's still a lot of positivity. There's a lot of good things being done and whatnot. I mean, look at a GME to the moon, break it down Wall Street, for example. Like people can use it to come together. Maybe that's not the best example of a good thing, but I think it was. It was like take from the rich, Robin Hood kind of stuff.
If anything, it's just it goes to show how a group of people can start a movement. I mean, it doesn't have to be. I mean, like these reigning companies and corporations, they all oversee everything that happens and control media, mass media, everything that's happening.
Right.
But then what people don't realize is that if you come together, you can literally do anything you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect examples, like you said, GME.
Yeah.
That was just, I had never seen anything like that before. Yeah. I mean, I'm not
no one has. That's the thing.
I'm not even in like crazy with stock market or anything like that, but
just the volume of that was insane. But then there's another like flip side to that, which is cancel culture. Like as a community, like on Twitter or just in social media in general, a group of people can make something happen, and it's just whether if they do it for good or for bad. And it's like, I hate cancel culture. I think it's awful to completely ruin someone's complete life work because of one thing they said or another. Whether it did offend a bunch of people, which probably isn't a good thing, but on the other hand, it's like everyone has their days, everyone has their times. A lot of people are less understanding of that, even though themselves do the same things. You know, I feel like a lot of perception of people nowadays, we used to think everyone who was a celebrity was amazing back in the days. Like, every president was fantastic. Like, everyone loved the president, no matter if you were Republican or Democrat. Like, at the end of it, he was like, that is our president, super patriotic. And now we had Donald Trump, and there was a lot of people who didn't like him. And there were things that you found out more about him because of, like, the technologies we have. It's harder to hide and just put up a curtain and stuff. Like, JFK got away with doing all that stuff with his wife and stuff like that. But, like, at the beginning, we just thought he was awesome and that he was, like, they were the perfect couple. So losing that sense of, like, privacy, and then also with the continuation of a horde mentality that is cancel culture, can make for something bad at the same time.
I think there are two sides to that, because I mean, it's really good that you can do sort of background checks and like see what's been happening in a person's life, obviously. But then there's also these things that get brought up from people who are on the uprise of popularity or fame or just success, and then they get brought down like heavily because of something they tweeted when they were 10 or something like that.
Yeah, I've seen that happen before, and it's crazy.
And it just, to me, it's like, okay, I get it. It's bad, whatever they said, tweeted, but you got to understand. Think about when you were that age.
Right.
Think about the things that you did. Like it takes a long time to figure out
10-year-old
wrong
me had a
from
Twitter,
right.
I wouldn't have a job right now. I can guarantee you that.
Right.
Like, it just wouldn't end well. You know, might be just saying some stupid stuff. I might be saying something that was, and like things that are offensive back then weren't or were now. You know, like everything changes like that. So to hold someone up to especially like from 2 to 4 years like in the past or whatever, and then bring it up later on and not get a job, a career, like ruin their lives over it. It's just ridiculous. I mean, I can't believe people still do that. But back on the topic of New York, you know, like living here has been such a culture shock, I think. I don't know about you. You grew up in Texas, right? In Houston?
Well, I was born in Houston. When I was very, very young, my family had to move to New York City for my father's job.
Right.
But then we eventually moved back.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I grew up in Houston. I couldn't even remember.
Okay.
So basically coming here for this time was my first time, I would say.
Yeah, I've moved around a lot. Like, I was born in Houston, and when I was 1, I moved to Venezuela for 4 years, moved to Puerto La Cruz for 6, then came back here, and then I visited London for a little bit. Wasn't long enough to say like I lived there, I feel. And coming here is definitely kind of the craziest culture shock, I think. Like the atmosphere around, like in Texas, everyone's like, hey, how you doing? You know, even if you're walking on the street, like you smile, you nod, like
you do not get that here.
You do not get the only acknowledgement you get from strangers is hobos asking for change. That's literally
the sad truth.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's insane. But it's like, makes me sad sometimes. I also miss the ability to yell. Have you noticed that at all? Like, I feel like I can't scream. Like, I had a backyard, like I go, woo, or whatever. Like, it being in, like, such a compact place with so many people, I can't yell anymore. I can't scream. Like, sometimes I'll just be on the subway and I'll be like, let's go! Because it's so loud coming by that no one can hear me, so no one's just, like, looking at me.
It just covers.
Yeah, so I see how people, like, go absolutely insane in the city. Yeah. Just being around someone at all times.
Yeah, because I feel like if you went out and you were to just scream like that without a subway passing by, someone would be like, oh, God. Like,
you're crazy, yeah.
You're either crazy or something really bad is happening.
Oh, yeah, dude. I mean, I've had my share. I don't know you've had, but I've had my fair share of crazy people in New York.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there obviously, like, we can talk about positive things here, but I mean, there are definitely some things I've encountered here with people who are just looking for a fight or something.
I literally got punched in the face on a train. I told you about this, but like, so I was, we live in LIC, which is Long Island City, which is right next to Manhattan, but my job is in Long Island, so it's about like an hour and a half commute. Like, I have to get on a subway to get on a train to get there, and then I do the same thing on the way back. And one day after work, I go in once a week on Thursdays. I'm on my way back. I get on the train, and I'm FaceTiming, like, a friend. And I'm talking to her because we have class the same time. Like, I come back, and I have to go to class. And I wanted to do a little bit of the reading for that class beforehand.
Right.
And so I was asking her, like, oh, like, what is, like, the chapter today, whatever. I just want to read it on the train so I'm not wasting my life away. And I mean, when you're on the train, like, everyone's quiet so everyone can hear everything.
Yeah.
And this dude heard me, and he thought maybe I was talking about him, like, we're wasting our lives on these trains. We're losers if we ride the train. Like, I don't have a car or something like that. I don't know what he was thinking.
Out of context.
Yeah, out of context. He stands up and he starts screaming slurs at me, like going insane. And at first, he stands up and he starts screaming, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like on FaceTime with my friend. I'm like, oh my gosh, this dude's screaming. He's about to fight someone. And then this dude makes eye contact with me and starts walking towards me. And like, I think he's yelling at me. And then I'm just laying down on like this 3-row seat by myself, like with my phone in my hands, and he's just looking at me screaming. He'd like had graham crackers. He just spitting debris at me and stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to start kicking this man. I'm gonna have to defend myself. And I was freaking out. And he leaves and he goes to sit on like another cart of the train or whatever. And I know the guy who works the train at this point because I've been like on the same time, whatever, few like weeks now. And I tell him like, oh, by the way, like there's this crazy dude, he just yelled at me, like threatened to take, like I'm gonna be the reason he goes to prison again, like stuff like this. Can you just like watch it? He's like, yeah, sure. 30 minutes later, I'm like reading the thing and he comes back and he starts yelling at me again. This time I'm ready. I stand up like in defense position, like, oh god, I'm gonna have to fight this man. He punches me in the face. So I punch him back, and then the guy who I told, like the train conductor worker, like tackles him to the ground, has these zip ties, puts him down. The train stops, he just throws him off the train and we go. Cops didn't come, nothing like that. Like it was like clockwork, and he was just like another day in the New York.
They didn't do anything about it. They just
no. Like I could have filed a police report for assault, and they just like, no, just get him out of here, and just like.
See, and that's
crazy
one of the
people, man.
Big things, like the culture shock you were talking about. You come here, it's just like, okay, that's just an everyday thing. I feel like if something of any relation to that, or any closely resembled any closely like that would in Texas or anything.
That would not fly. That would just not be okay. Like I would have like I was like, dude, can I call the cops? Like it just happened. So I was like, no, really? Like no one was fazed. No one tried to help me. No one did anything. Like there's other people on the train. They just looked at their phones. They're like, okay, that's not my problem. You're on your own here, man. You're on your own here, which is another thing about growing up. It's kind of crazy, but you know.
Well, would you say that was the most negative thing you've had?
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, I've loved the city of New York. I've had a great time. I don't even regret that. If anything, that was like just kind of a crazy learning experience. I wouldn't even
welcome
look at
to New York.
Yeah, literally. That's like your welcome to New York moment. Like, you know, people have like the welcome to the NFL moment when they just get hit really hard and they're like, I'm not in college anymore.
That was your welcome to the NFL.
Yeah, I'm not in college anymore. I'm in freaking New York City, you know, on an internship. Doing my own things and getting in fight with hobos on the train sometimes.
Well, beside the fact that I've had some experiences, nothing of the sort like that. Even
that was definitely drastic.
I've had some negative.
That was
stuff
definitely drastic.
But I would definitely say my time being here that I had
positive.
The positive would definitely outweigh the negative. And the thing I think mostly that we could both relate to is the people that we have on this program,
right?
And just how well we get along because of everything we're doing and just like how we carry ourselves. It may be because of like how COVID has affected the group as a whole and just like how the whole program has changed because of it. And they have different selections going on in different majors, but I think for the most part we've all gone along really well. And everyone's gone together because I mean our program director, they would tell us about the previous program and how things happen with them because they got it in like the main wave of COVID, like everything
right in quarantine when
being
it just
affected.
got shut down and everything.
And they were talking about how they were all depressed being here.
Yeah.
Because they were all stuck in their homes, just doing nothing.
We had a 4-day lockdown. They had a 14-day lockdown. Yeah. So that's just like, I was tired of 4. So I can't imagine an extra 10 days. It'd be crazy.
Well, yeah, we kind of got lucky. But I mean, I definitely feel like, and we've talked about how we could make it through a 14-day quarantine. Obviously, it wouldn't be fun.
Yeah.
But I think we could do it.
Yeah.
But just the fact that, I mean, how some of the implications and what they've talked about of the past group is just like, it seems like they didn't get along at all. And I think that's a huge deciding factor for us. Like, we come here, first of all, roommates, like me and you, and Jack as well, our other roommate.
He's cool. He's all right. Beautiful hair, beautiful mane, though, I will say. Man's got locks of love for sure.
But I mean, we just clicked really well. I mean, we all love the same things for the most part. I mean, we get along.
We're chill.
We all get our work done. I mean, things happen. But also the rest of the group, like we're all pretty chill with each other, and everything kind of flows really well. So I mean, the best thing I could say that has come out so far, aside, I mean, jobs and internships aside, I would say
Friendships.
Bonding. Love.
I mean, yeah, you're right. Well, also, it was talking, I remember Benji, one of our professors, he was telling us, like, he had gone on the trip before when he was a student, and now he's, like, a grad student teaching us. And he said, like, he found that the groups that come here that don't know anybody at all actually come together closer as a whole because they're forced to meet everyone. Or if you come here with just, like, a group of, like, if me, you, and Jack knew each other and didn't know anyone else, we would just hang out with us and then not try and get to know everyone.
Right.
And since we didn't know a single person, we kind of were forced to get to know everyone, and then we all became a huge, big group, and now we're all, like, hanging out, and we're going to karaoke on Friday.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah. Speaking of karaoke, what are you going to sing when you go out there?
So,
you got to pick a song.
I was talking with Jack the other day, because
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I don't know what to, like, should I, like, look stuff up or something?
You got to be prepared. You got to come prepared.
I was thinking about Live and Let Die, Paul McCartney.
Live and Let
Because
Die.
we came
That's
back
a
the other
good
night.
karaoke song.
We came back the other night. I mean, it's alright, you know, but
Like, for karaoke, I like it.
Yeah, but we came back and he was like cooking, and then I just like saw the song on one of my playlists, and I was like, I'm gonna just play it. And then, because we had that conversation, like, what should I sing or something like that. And he was like, bro, this should be your karaoke song. And I was like, yeah.
I got a few in the bag, too. Like Ice Ice Baby by Vanilla Ice. I know that by heart. Like, I could sing that right now.
That would be a good one.
Yeah,
I could see
for
it.
sure.
Just something to get the crowd.
Also, yeah,
going.
Bust a Move by Young MC. But it's all old school, like fun rap, dude. That's going to be good stuff. We got to get everyone to come out. It'll be a good time.
Well, and karaoke has been, I mean, yeah, it's going to be great, but we've also had some crazy experiences, good experiences with other restaurants and places we've been to.
Yeah.
I mean, we have some spots we go frequently. I mean, there's Teriyaki right outside. We have a little food truck out there, and he's become quite popular amongst
all 12 of us
group,
have gone now.
Yeah.
Repeat customers for sure at that place. That place is really cool. And then obviously Johnny's Bars. We're patrons now at a nice little dive bar.
Yeah.
Love the place. Feels like home.
Yeah.
Tony, the master of disaster.
Shout out Tony.
Shout out Tony. So that's the bouncer at the bar that we love, and Christina, the bartender.
Yeah.
They take good care of us there. Yeah, we literally I love that too, because we found like a kind of home. It's like a dive bar. It reminds me a lot of like our college bars in Waco and stuff like that. So it's like we made a home in New York already. We've only been here like 6 weeks. Like we're definitely living it up, and like we made the most of it.
We've definitely taken advantage.
Yeah, for sure. We're not like whining about it or like, and I mean, we have our struggles. Like my internship isn't always easy all the time. Like it's like a lot of work. I mean, same with Jack.
Yeah.
Sometimes he has problems with his internship, and even you, like you didn't even have an internship coming here.
Yeah.
But you still came here with a positive outlook, and then now look where you are. You're making a podcast. You have a positive outlook, and positivity comes towards positivity. That's just what you give out comes back in. I 100% believe
Big
that.
shout out to iSTANDtv.
I got you, baby.
But yeah, I mean, that goes along with how, I mean, I'm sure even after they had, like, the past group for this trip, I mean, they had their quarantine and then they were able to do stuff, but it still felt like, from what we've heard, that they were doing things in a sense where it's like, okay, I want to do things, but I don't want to do them with y'all. Like, y'all, you're in my group, but you're not my friends. I feel like everyone in this group I could say is my friend.
Yeah.
We've been here for a little over a month.
Yeah. I like them a little bit. Yeah, they're really cool guys. Everyone's really cool. Everyone's really cool. And everyone seems to be like into the same stuff for the most part. I mean, you expect that with film students. We even have like PR students or journalist majors that are just like, they love film as well. Like, one of the journalist students here, Shanda, she's a film minor. So I think she kind of got like what coming to New York was about and stuff like that.
And she also puts a lot of good input on like class discussions.
Yeah, no, like she really cares, and she was really interested in the subjects we're learning. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, and you wouldn't really expect that from. I mean, I guess you could, but from PR journalists.
No, that's the thing. Like, you don't think they would care about the stuff.
Because sometimes I see Shanda mentioning things that
you don't even recognize.
Like, whoa, like, how did you know that? Like,
right.
You make these observations where I'm just like, oh, okay, wow.
Yeah, it's really cool what people can like do when they're passionate about something.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it here a lot.
I like it a lot.
I like it a lot.
Thanks for tuning in to the first episode. If you want to find out more about iSTANDtv or me, go online to iSTAND.tv
or check out our various social media platforms, which will be displayed at the end. I hope you enjoyed and keep an eye out for the next episode. Peace!